Hello, hello, hello. It's your new day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. And maybe it's yours. In our 30 minutes, we talk about your emotions and mind and how they tie into your body and spirit. We want you to renew and restore yourself in a world that wants you crazy. And sometimes we even talk about money. Introducing your hosts, Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen. Hello, hello. We're back again, Donna and
Dr. Cami.
Woohoo! Thank you for joining us. And today we're going to do it a little different. Format's a little different. Instead of us chatting back and forth, I'm going to interview Dr. Cami because I think it would be helpful for you to know more about their clinic and some specific things. So we're going to start with one thing today, and I have experienced it. There's a technology in Dr. Cami's office that I've used twice, and it's very different, and it's called a RASHA, R-A-S-H-A, all caps. All caps. I said, well, tell me what's unique about the RASHA. She said, I have never seen anything stop addictions just like that as I have with the RASHA. Sure. I said, really? She said, so she goes, she's kind of torn between, she has this system, but then she has this. One is really not better than the other. They really are uniquely different in what they offer the body. So I would like to know, Dr. Cami, now that I did this little preface, because you know I'm a talker. Dr. Cami, could you please tell me what is a RASHA, first of all?
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a scalar plasma technology.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck does that mean?
Yes, what does it mean?
So a scalar wave is not really, when we hear scalar wave, we think of a wave, but that's not actually what it is. If you can picture that there's infinite little grids around us, okay? And they're little microfusion on and off, blinking on and off, blinking sound and light on and off, on and off.
Okay.
So that's where the primordial sound comes from in the universe, okay? And think of these like, the reason that it's called a wave is information travels, hopping from one to the other to the other. So think of it like in Las Vegas. If you see the big marquees, the big lights, it looks like there's things moving, but nothing's actually moving. The lights are just blinking on and off in a rhythmic pace that makes something look like it's moving, right? So that's what a scalar wave is, if you will, is a progression of information on a grid, if you will. So there's different formations of these grids. One has 10 little blinking on and off fission, fusion, source particles, or source particle, I guess it's not technically the correct term, but the one that we were actually designed for our eternal life part of us has 12 of those instead of 10. So we are now degraded down to 10, where there's 2 of them are missing. So this is why our body dies. This is why we physically die. Sorry, I don't mean to tap that. Where we physically die is because we've lost 2 of those informational fission, fusion instructions that will keep the body regenerating, rather than in a spiral that will eventually terminate, which is why we die. We are actually created, and it's in our DNA, to be eternal life beings, and physically as well, where we can take our body in different planes with us. But in this realm, we're unable to do that right now. So every single cell in your body actually communicates through scalar waves. Like if you've ever gone and had surgery, and you get a shot to make you go to sleep, and by about the time it gets here, you start, feeling. There's no way that medication has gone through your whole body to have you feel that way. But what's happening, the cells that get the signal here, massively send a text to every other cell in your body. So immediately, this is what we're doing.
So it's disrupting normal function in the body.
It's not disrupting, it's communicating. So it's communicating function in the body. So there are instructions.
Okay.
So the DNA
telling it to go to sleep or whatever.
Yes. Okay. It's turning on certain genes on and off.
Okay.
That's the instructions.
So a RASHA machine is a technology that promotes what in the body?
It turns on the DNA that's been turned off.
Okay.
That keeps us from being our eternal life beings that we are. So the disruptions of the miasmic distortions are what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
These are certain genetic expressions or genes that are expressed that are keeping us sick or keeping us having issues. And with the RASHA, it can go in and re-express those DNA genes that are turned on and off.
So it doesn't repair. It just restores communication or gives a new communication pathway?
No, it turns on, think of it like little radio stations that are off.
So it turns on what's already in our body?
Yes, it turns on what's been turned off. So what's been turned off, if you look at mainstream medicine, only 3% of our genes actually code for protein. And that's all that mainstream medicine worries about. Mm-hmm. There's 97% of our DNA that does not code for protein, and they call it junk DNA. Mm-hmm. But it's not junk DNA. It's actually running everything. But some of it's been turned off. So the RASHA turns it back on, basically.
Okay, so let's talk about addictions, just because Kim said that. That was fascinating to me. And also, you can find Dr. Cammie Owen at You Only Younger. You can call the office. What is the number?
281-937-7537.
She could also meet you remotely and have a conversation.
And the RASHA can also be done remotely.
And so, excuse me, if you're watching this, you have possibility for you and call the office. Please say that you learned about it from the TV show.
Yes.
And that'd be great. Okay. In case we forget to do that, we're running out of time. I want to do it right now.
Yes.
All right. And also, her office is integrative medicine. So there is some medical that takes place beyond frequency. It's a great marriage of both in case you do need something like an antibiotic or a steroid, and there are other things as well, other prescriptions that sometimes your body does need to kick it or whatever. Yeah. So we're not opposing medical right now, but we're highlighting the RASHA. So Kim said to me, "Oh, but Donna, the ability for it to stop an addiction in its tracks is amazing."
Yes.
So tell me why addiction specific. I know it can be anything, but we're staying in a lane because if you have an addiction, this would be a great place to come for help that would be non-invasive for you in a way.
It's actually funny you talk about this with Kim because I had a call with Kim on Saturday, and we are actually putting together a study. And
awesome.
We're going to do a study on addiction with the RASHA.
That's amazing.
So we're actually doing that because a big directive, a purpose I have is to build a bridge between mainstream medicine and the alternative holistic approach. There's a place for both. And so bridging those two together, and one of the ways to do that, to have these folks over here actually listen to us, is you have to come over and kind of talk in their language and their world a little bit. So we can also open their awareness to what's possible, because again, there's been a lot of indoctrination. There's been a lot of when I had my transformative healing and I didn't know any of this stuff, I'm like, why don't I know this? I'm going to go back to school and learn this, so I can also make a difference. So I don't think I would have been available for really understanding the RASHA and how it works had I not had that initial indoctrination, if you will, or it's not really indoctrination, but education.
Yeah. So, okay. So we have a RASHA. For you, you're going, oh, okay, so I'm not going to get in there. What's a RASHA? So it is I laid on a bed. Okay, so my experience was I laid on a beautiful, I'm sorry, a beautiful, comfortable, not a couch, but a beautiful, comfortable lounge area. And then I had headphones, and she designed the pathway that I needed. Like I had specifics. These are some issues I have that I know I have. I need definite help with. And so she put a playlist together. And so it verbalized sound in my ears. So this is like sound therapy, but it's RASHA therapy. Mm-hmm. So can you continue to expand?
Yeah. Well, the reality is you don't have to have the sound for it to work.
Okay.
Because it's absolutely happening anyway. The scalar waves are coming from the technology. Mm-hmm. The sound keeps you in your body, and it keeps you grounded, is one of the things, and keeps you engaged is one of the things. It's not always necessary. We have autistic children that do not want headphones on their ears, so we actually put it on their skin because your skin hears better than your ears. So anything that exposes you physically to the scalar waves, they're gonna get in. But you also can do this remotely because of quantum entanglement. We don't have to get into all that.
We did that another day.
Yeah, we don't have to get into all that. But
I had an 8-part series the first time. I might have had 2 8-part. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think you did.
But the first time I went,
this was hilarious.
It was the first. The first time I went, I came out and I had a supernatural experience while I was there. I had a remembrance of something happened when I was a child, and I also had a remembrance of something that happened when I had a supernatural experience years ago, where my body lifted up and lifted out of my house, and all sorts of things that you Bible thumpers, it wasn't witchcraft. So just come back, just come on back.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had this spiritual experience, and it's like God reminded me, hey, look, remember this? Like, oh, and I really felt the invitation from God to come back to the Spirit and let my Spirit lead you. So I knew, for me, the RASHA not only was safe, but it was a directive for me. That's how God speaks to me. So I'm just going to lay it out and tell you. Pay for everything up front. Didn't want to do a monthly thing, so I could do my 8 sessions. They're 90 minutes each, whatever. So the second time I went, I came out of that thing. I went to the front desk. I think I told Noelle, said, I just want you to know that had I not paid for this up front, I would have never come back, because it was like scraping fingernails on a chalkboard for me, 90 minutes of it. Now listen, that's not everybody's experience, okay? I've had people tell me all sorts of pleasant things they experienced, but I got the second time with that. That being said, later that day and the next few days, I had this like a remembrance, these thoughts that came that I knew were not normal. And I knew that there was something happening in the deep place inside of me, and I knew it was connected to that. Can you share? Because it was fascinating.
I've had so many people describe that same feeling. I'll tell a couple, one with addiction, because I have had this same exact experience with RASHA that Kim is talking about. Even people that did not come for addiction, they came for something else, and then they said, I didn't tell you the truth. I asked, but people will lie. They'll not tell you the truth.
It's because you're ashamed.
Yes. That I drank a 5th of vodka every day. And after like 4 or 5 sessions, I just stopped drinking. I had a heroin addict. He was schizophrenic and a heroin addict that came in. After the first session, he stopped hearing the voices. After the third session, he stopped using heroin. What was so incredible about that, he did not detox off the heroin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he didn't have any withdrawals or
That's
anything.
deep.
Yes.
That's a deep impact.
It is.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was amazing for him. I have a young guy he's 29. He's autistic, and when he came in, he was not verbal. The way he talked was that, he'd do his finger like that, and we could connect because he liked video games.
Mm-hmm.
He could do the video games. He just was not very verbal. He could get a couple words out, but you couldn't really understand him and that. And he was raging. He would rage, and that's one of the reasons he came. His mom brought him as, he's a grown man in size, so she was worried about him hurting her, somebody else,
Sure.
when he'd rage. And I'm not even sure how they found us. I really don't. I'd have to look. But anyway, we started the RASHA with him, and within a few sessions, he started actually, there was no more raging. She said that was the biggest thing. They couldn't, and I could, the father was like a little, I don't know about
skeptical?
this. Yeah, he was very skeptical when we first started.
That's because there's money attached.
That's right. And they were accustomed to paying for their health care because this alternative things are not covered by insurance.
Right.
So they were accustomed to that. But it was a little weird for him. So he didn't know what to think. He is now fully verbal. He loves video games, and he loves The Walking Dead. So we were able to connect because I love The Walking Dead. So I was able to talk to him about that because I think The Walking Dead's a great.
What's The Walking Dead?
It's a TV show.
Okay.
And it's about the human experience. That's why
Okay.
I like it. But we could talk, and then he loves ninjas. And I'm a martial artist, so I could talk about ninjas. And I actually turned him on to the TV show Kung Fu, and he loves it and everything. So, but it was interesting. He's been coming at least 6 months, and he's very verbal. He can talk to people, but he had this experience on the RASHA where he was afraid, and his mom is always in there with him, and she'll come sit with him and hold his hand. So they were. Tara, who's our RASHA guru, that helps facilitate our RASHAs, she was telling me that he was afraid. He had an experience where he was afraid. So I went in to talk to him and said, "Tell me what happened." He goes, "Well, I saw this girl, and I didn't like her. I was afraid." I said, "Well, was she facing you, or was her back to you?" Her back was to me. Did she have long hair? Did she have short hair? I'm trying to get a picture.
Right.
She had long hair. "Do you know her name?" And he said her name, and I was, didn't mean anything to me. I said, "Well, why were you afraid?" And he says, "She's mean to me." And his mom looked at me. She goes, "Oh my God, that is actually a real person." When he was in kindergarten, there was this little girl that used to terrorize him, in kindergarten.
Oh, and now this little girl has grown up.
No, she was still a little girl.
Oh, in the
He's having
dream?
memory. He's having memories of this. He's actually, all these memories are starting to come back, and he can process them.
Yeah. Oh, because he can process them now because his brain is repairing.
Yes.
His body is restoring communication inside, so that he can actually process the past and grow into his future. What a beautiful thing!
It was amazing.
Oh my goodness! So what happened after that?
So I told him, I said, "So what did you do?" And he was afraid. He was holding his mom's hands. And I said, "Well, what you can do next time if you see her is just tell her to go back to her mom. Just go be with her mom. And she doesn't have to bother you anymore." And so he started doing that, and he was very empowered by it, very empowered. And then another time he talked to me about this naked zombie that came and was scaring him. Well, that population has a high frequency of sexual abuse. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. Did somebody do something to him? And I talked to his mom, and she confirmed that, something like that had happened to him. That's why she was always in every single session with him from then. That point forward. I commended her. His mother's amazing, just amazing. And so we talked about that, and I said, Jacob, it's okay. That they gave me full license to talk about him.
Okay, good.
I have full permission.
Sorry, you know me, I always got your back.
No, I'm very well aware of that, who I can talk about. And no, they did a testimony. They I could share his story to whoever will listen.
Precious.
So I said, did you forget about your laser finger? And he's like, what? I said, yeah, you have a zombie, you have a laser that comes out of your finger. You can just, shoot him in, you have to hit him in the head because it's a zombie. So you have to shoot him in the head because he knows all the Walking Dead stuff. And I said, you can shoot them and they'll just disappear. They'll just disappear. And it really empowered him in a way that he didn't have before. So as we're talking, his mom's talking about, well, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. And I go, he's going through his milestones. This is the first time you've seen the terrible twos and the 10-year-old snotty teenager coming out.
Wow.
So he's now going through all his milestones and he's doing great. He really is. And so that's what's possible when you start turning on these parts of your DNA that's been turned off, that gives the instruction for how the body's supposed to function.
So question, okay, because I'm just like, okay. So it turns it on. How long ago was that?
That's happened? Mm-hmm. Within this year. Last year. Yeah.
In the past, with your RASHA experiences, how long do the genes stay on?
I have found that they stay on. Okay. That's been my experience once they turn on. Now, can you override that with your thoughts and your behaviors? Absolutely. But I have not found anybody, like, especially the addicts, like alcoholics that didn't even say they were alcoholics, that are not alcoholics anymore. That it's been several years and they're still not drinking. Now, could they choose to drink? Absolutely. Are you a sovereign being and you can make a decision about how you want to behave? Absolutely. But, I've had people with, I'm going to say it because I can say it. I've had people that had cancer that walked out with no cancer. So I can say that. This is a really amazing story that is true, because if I would hear this story, I would maybe have some skepticism to it. But since I experienced it and it was me, I can talk about it.
You can believe you.
I can believe me. I had a gentleman in Peru that was in kidney failure, complete kidney failure, had been on dialysis for 10 years, had not urinated in 10 years because he had no functioning kidneys. And he was referred to me, and we had a language barrier. It was very difficult it is very, very thick accent. We talked on Zoom, but everything was remote. Completely remote, and that's all I did with him was the RASHA. That was it. So we did a full series of 12, the hour and a half, so that's 12 hours. And it's 8 sessions, but 12 hours. And he started complaining of abdominal pain. And as I talked to him more, I said, that's not pain, that's the urge to urinate, that you've forgotten what that feels like after 10 years. And he's like, oh, I think you're right. And I said, when you have that, go try to urinate like you normally would. And he was urinating a teaspoon of urine, which is
miraculous.
Yes. So
scientifically miraculous.
Yes. So I said, we're on to something here. We've turned something on. And he was also doing some deep work because he was having some emotional stuff that he was realizing on the RASHA. So he was willing to put the work in and actually, listen to that inner voice and listen what was being communicated. And so I said, let's do another series. So he did. And what was also interesting is in the house when he would do it with speakers instead of headphones, that his wife would hear the RASHA in a completely different room without speakers, through the speakers in that room when there was no connection between those speakers at all. So there was something big going on in that family. But anyway, he did another series, and he was urinating more and more and having that feeling. So then that was it, and I said, that's a win, that he's backing off on he didn't have to do the dialysis as often and all that. So then we didn't talk again. His brother, who recommended him, still comes to see me, and he uses the RASHA for different things. He's a very enlightened soul, and and when he really wants to connect and have a conversation, he comes into the RASHA, and that's where he does that. But he goes, "You haven't heard about so-and-so?" And I said, "No, I haven't heard from him in a while." He goes, "Well, his kidneys are now fully functioning and then doubled in size." And they actually had this on a CT and then a CT. So he has completely regrown his kidneys to full function, and he's not on dialysis anymore. I'm like, how freaking cool is that? Can you believe that? And so, you know, if this would have happened in the United States, I could verify it, you know, and I don't know, somebody probably come after me if I said this, you know. But anyway, it's true. That happened. And that's what's possible. Your body is amazing. We are amazing beings and creatures and whatever word you want to put for it. But we are more than this physical body. And with the RASHA and the things that you work with in the submatter world is actually what's running the show. It's the software running the hardware.
Yeah.
So the RASHA goes in and basically defrags the hard drive and gets all the corruption out. It gets all it does a virus scan, if you will,
right,
and defrags the hard drive so that everything is now rebooted back to how we were originally created. So turning on that part of us is where this healing happens, and it's pretty amazing.
So amazing. Because my heart went. Listen, before we close, I just want to make sure you understand. We are not your medical doctors. We are not here to prescribe or treat in any way, shape, or form. Please see your own medical provider or call Dr. Cammie and have a meeting and get to know what options there are for you in the restoration of your body, your soul, and your mind. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining Your New Day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cammie Owen. We look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. Until soon.